Hey guys, it's Kyle from Out of Spec Motoring, and today we are driving the original Tesla Roadster. We're in Phoenix, Arizona at the Gruber Motor Company, where they fix roadsters, develop products, and we have done many videos on them and more to come. But even as someone who used to work for Tesla, drives a lot of Teslas, I've only ever driven a Roadster really just around a parking lot. I've never taken one out on the street. Gruber had just finished up a battery pack rejuvenation repair. This car is now alive. It was dead, and they need to test drive it to ensure that everything is working properly. They were kind enough to let me go with Pete, the CEO at the Gruber Companies, on the inaugural test drive of this Roadster to make sure that everything is working properly for the customer. I'm even lucky enough to be able to drive the car myself, and Pete will instruct me on how to make sure that everything is going well and that I'm not breaking anything by driving it. But this is going to be a really fun thing, a great opportunity, and a big shout out to Gruber Motor Company for letting me take this Roadster on a drive. With that said, let's get in the car and get on the road. So this is going to really be like a ride along video. And again, it's been so long since I've even sat in a Roadster, I don't remember how to adjust the seat.
Oh, I'll just reach down here.
Yep, but there's no height adjustment, right?
No height, no.
Okay.
There you go, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, we should put mine back all the way.
Yep. All right, so this is, explain which Roadster this is. This is a 2.0?
This is a 2010, it's a 2.0 Roadster,
Right,
yes.
that's because it has the buttons down here instead of the old knobby thing.
And it's a sport version, so it should be a little bit more powerful.
Cool. So how do I turn it on?
Just go all the way forward.
Yep.
And keep your foot on the brake.
Okay.
There you go. And then you just push D.
Push D. So what are we going to attempt to figure out on this shakedown drive for the car?
Primarily, we have an error here right now, this SWP load shed error, which is a relay box underneath there that we're going to have to pull out. What we do is generally disable that, and since this was a lengthy battery recovery, we're looking to see how the battery behaves as we're driving. So
are there any certain tests that we need to put it through, such as acceleration or driving easily, to see what are we attempting to figure out?
Definitely acceleration, so flooring it a bit, you know.
That's never a problem for me.
Right.
So this was originally bricked, and you guys successfully saved the battery.
We recovered it, yes. And then during the time we were working on a VMS problem, another sheet went bad due to age. So we had to pull the battery pack again. And the VMS problem is really what delayed things. We ended up having to reload and rewrite the VMS. Wow.
So I can see here already gauges is kilowatt on the right, miles per hour on the left. Is it the regen maximum of 40 kilowatt?
It is not adjustable on this car. On my T0 it was. You could actually dial it in.
Oh really? And yeah.
It would get pretty severe.
And so we'll go to the right here, I imagine?
Yes.
Okay. And so I'm going to give it the beans if that's okay.
Go for it, yeah.
All right. It's actually pretty quick, isn't it?
It does, yes.
It's no P100D, but it feels pretty good. Wow, I love this thing. It is tight in here, though.
It is, yes. It's a sports car. You can hear the rattles, the dings, the dents.
It's so perfect. And now, is this speedometer correct? Because I feel like we're going a lot more than 38 miles an hour. But it could be just because we're low to the ground.
Yes. Yeah. And you can go straight here if you like.
Okay, that sounds good. So that's quite a bit of regen actually when you lift off.
Yeah. That's
very cool. We'll go through and get on it one more time. It's fast.
0 to 60 is 3.7 seconds in this car.
Is it really? Wow.
Like you say, it's not like the ludicrous cars.
It actually is pretty close, though. I mean, that's really good. So what is this amps gauge here?
Oh, now we get into a realm where my son has more expertise.
Okay. So I assume that's just how many amps are running through the system at pack voltage.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, very cool. Now, does this car have power steering, or is it, it's manual, right? Yeah.
can't take traction control off though.
That's
There's
very
a button
good.
underneath the, you see it lit up.
Something you can't do on the new cars without pulling wheel speed sensors.
Right.
Well, I would say you can easily daily drive this car, no problem.
I did. I even drove mine through summer.
And here, that's a big deal.
It is,
Where
yeah.
I'm from, that's, you know.
The car would actually, or the Roadster would actually power limit during 115 degree weather because it was trying to keep the PEM cool.
Oh,
and
really?
the battery cool, yes.
Wow, so even if you were just letting it sit at 115, you were in power limitation?
Only when you're driving.
Only when you're driving, okay. That's so funny.
And of course there was no AC in the cabin.
Right, there's no AC in here, just heat?
Well, when it was power limiting, it was funneling all the AC to the battery.
That's right, I knew that actually.
And then if you tried to drive it with AC, when it wasn't power limiting, it was ineffective.
Right, that's interesting. This is really the first classic EV that people will recognize. Maybe like an EV1, but this is certainly up there with that car. The T0, of course, that blows everything away. But this is really cool.
Yeah, we don't doubt that these will be collectible someday.
Yeah, they absolutely will be, and in large part because you guys are servicing them and keeping them alive.
Now, if you want to take a right up here, we can hit the 101 and you can do a freeway
Yeah, that sounds great.
experience.
That sounds great. It's so cool how connected this whole car is. It's like a little go-kart.
It is. And yeah, you're right. You sit so low that you think you're going faster than you really
Right,
are.
I was like, the speedometer can't be right. It really is. Correct, though. That's interesting. Oh, I gotta have one of these. These are so great. And it's just a cool part of history.
Mm-hmm.
So it has creep where the car pushes forwards.
It does, and it's not adjustable.
It's not
like
adjustable.
On the Model S.
Right, and no auto hold for brakes. I mean, this is, by Tesla standards, pretty old school, but it really drives like a modern vehicle. I mean, my smart car has about the same level of tech, if not less.
They give you sun visors, but they're not very effective.
Look at that, they're so small. That's crazy. Makes a great noise, doesn't it? That electric motor whine is so cool.
If you want to hear it louder, you can turn the radio to an AM station.
That's right. I used to do that with Model S. They sound like F1 cars.
Yeah. The visibility with side view mirrors isn't great in this car.
No.
Some customers have put aftermarkets on them.
Right.
They're not great either, especially if you're not used to them. That one orange car we have with the translucent top, it's got that mirror option, and
Oh, interesting.
I have to get used to it every time I drive it.
Which way are we going to be merging
Straight,
on?
you're going to go on the right.
On the right side,
Yeah.
okay.
Most of the collision damaged Roadsters are front end damage because the brakes are they're inefficient. Let's put it that way.
Right.
Inferior.
I can already feel that in the pedal. It has a lot of travel before they do anything.
They didn't really do any brake upgrade from the original Lotus Elise weight, and with that 900-pound battery behind
they're
us,
just working them too hard.
it needs something more. Yeah.
Makes sense. So this car has 26,000 miles on it and feels perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
There are very few wear items on a car like this other than suspension and brakes. And tires, of course.
Right, and brakes obviously you're working little brakes hard with this, but with regenerative braking, you're not even going to be using brakes too often.
Yeah, once you learn to drive it, yeah.
That's right.
I think my tires on my daily driver Roadster lasted about 6,000 to 8,000 miles in the rear.
Right, having fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how really modern this car feels still. I mean, with electric, of course, but you get out of this and into a Model 3, and it is not too dissimilar by the power delivery. This is where we're turning.
Yes.
Well, everyone just looks at you in this car, don't they?
Yeah, as one of my employees always says, it's a babe magnet, isn't it?
This is so cool. So what do we have here? This is a factory Alpine unit?
Yeah, and it also has a backup camera, so when we go in reverse, you'll see a back end. There's a CD player, and see if I can get into that. Oh, it has navigation as well.
Oh, wow.
Here we go. and then this whole thing will pivot.
So this is just a double din. I guess you can really put in anything you want in there.
Come on, open up from it. Oh, I think it's this one. Tilt. There it is.
Oh, that's so cool.
Open. There it goes. Nope.
There you go. Back in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So this ideal range down here, is that based off of a set calculation like Model S, X, and 3? Or is that adjusting based on our driving habits?
Not sure.
Okay. And we'll try not to total your client's Roadster, and we're going to merge on to the left.
To the freeway, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look at this thing go. That's awesome. I guess it's saying you're not putting a disc in.
Right. Isn't that amazing? I used to know how to work this when I had my Roadster.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, we're hitting traffic. Okay.
Yeah. I guess we're getting close to commuting times. I don't know.
There's a lot of construction. They're actually widening the 101. A lot of the bridges now are closed. Some of the exits are closed.
Can you explain why so many people drive electric cars in Phoenix? Because there's a disproportionate number of EVs here than most other cities that I've been to.
I would say it's brilliant marketing by putting these things into the high-end malls, the stores. It's at the Kierland up in North Scottsdale, which is where most of the money is in Arizona, and at Fashion Square, which is another.
Do you get HOV access with an EV?
Only with a cloud plate like that Tesla Model S has up there.
So you have to have the blue cloud plate.
Yes.
That's interesting. Because I saw so many Teslas in the HOV yesterday, I was going to go in there and join them, but I didn't know if I could.
I think where we saw the most Teslas was in Fremont. My son and I, during our Tesla meeting about 6 months ago, we counted one every 60 seconds.
That's
either
good.
Coming towards us, parked somewhere.
They are everywhere out there.
Omnipresent, yes.
Yeah.
But then you go to other places like where I'm from, Rochester, New York. It took us 3 days before we saw our first Tesla.
Right.
And then you can get off here.
So when this car says fault here, I assume that has to do with the
Yes.
forward. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a special piece, no question. And that regen is, it slows down just like any modern Tesla would. I mean, this is really the perfect, should I say, accessory or collectible item to any Tesla enthusiast. You gotta have a Roadster.
Yes, I agree. And once more people feel that way,
Look at that
prices will
thing.
go up. Yeah.
It just pulls so hard. It's pretty unbelievable
Yeah.
that this car drives like any modern Tesla does. And it feels tight and connected to the road, which is cool. I mean, the steering is very quick. Is this the horn?
Yes. Actually, oh, right here. Sorry.
Really? Right there. It's just a normal horn. I'm glad they didn't put one of those like BMW i3 ugly horns that sound like a little clown car.
My Ferrari had a Momo steering wheel too,
Oh, really?
and the horn in that
There was a
the
very
same
high
difference.
pitch.
Yeah, high pitch.
That's right. Was it a 360?
No, I had the 308.
The 308. Yeah, those had the really cool high horns in them. The high horns. They're awesome.
Yeah, they were actually air driven too. I remember I had to change one of mine once.
So you had the Ferrari, and then didn't you have an ACR Viper as well?
Yes. Yeah,
Those are so cool.
Yeah, that was. Well, it was basically a race car for the street.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm reminded all the time by employees at my other cars too. I had Mopars,
Yeah.
68 Dodge Charger, black with a scoop, 69 Plymouth Roadrunner, 72 Dodge Dart, 71 Cuda.
You had so many.
Yes.
And now look at you leading the change for electrification, for servicing at least.
Completely different experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, this is the new, I guess they're stopping. This is the new, really sports car of the electric vehicle world. This is the collectible. This is the early Porsches. This is the holy grail car. This is cool. We got a Mustang coming up over here who wants to, I guess they're just driving. And is it this left here?
Yeah, you can take a left here.
I'm starting to get familiarized with the area.
The other buildings are one street further, but this is the way to get to GMC.
Corners pretty well. I love the manual steering. It's really heavy when it weights up. It feels nice.
Yeah.
I love it. And it has, it drives sort of like a mid-engined car because the batteries sort of...
Because of the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
And which, oh, we turn right and then
turn
it's on the
right.
right. That's correct. Well, thank you again for letting me drive this car around. I hope we tested everything we needed to test
Our pleasure.
along the way.
Yes.
That was a really special experience.
Right here.
Really special experience. Let's go in on an angle so we don't take the front end off.
Yeah, got it.
Yep. I've owned a couple low cars in my life. Yeah, it is heavy to maneuver around though when you're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
But that is
Yeah,
cool.
my wife used to complain.
Oh yeah. And we'll park it right back to where we were. That's actually a pretty good backup camera.
Yeah, not bad, huh?
And the park, is that a parking paw or is it?
It's a parking paw, yeah.
Yep, so it doesn't use
Yeah.
the parking brake like the newer cars do.
Right. Which poses another problem when the cars are dead. We have sometimes a difficult time getting that parking paw to disengage for the transporter to be able to pick up the car.
So what do you have to do if that's the case?
We have to wake up the car. We put a 12-volt signal back there in that wheel well. We have a newsletter on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wakes up the car, then we can put it in a tow mode.
Interesting.
Or the other way is to go into the CAN bus here, and we have a laptop command that will then disengage that parking paw.
It's so cool what you guys are doing with these things. That was amazing. Thank you for the ride.
Sure. Glad you enjoyed it.
And thanks for watching Out of Spec Motoring. Hopefully you enjoyed the Roadster test drive.